Hey, what's up, y'all? I am Simon Garcia, and welcome to CrashinConvos. This podcast is all about exploring the ups and downs of life, wellness, resilience, and everything in between through the arts of conversation. We'll also dive into deep discussions on existential questions, philosophical thoughts, and how we are part of something bigger. By sharing my experiences along with those of my guests, I hope to bring you inspiration and essential direction through connection, which may help the listener begin to understand and unravel some situations they may be facing. To support this podcast, please subscribe, like, or share with someone you feel it may help. Thank you for your time and your presence. Now, I welcome my next guest.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, and I don't get paid for this shit anyway, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah. No, I love
Yeah,
dude. Like I said, I'm just looking forward to the conversation. Me and you
yeah,
have talked about this for a while, and we had some great conversations when we were together. And so,
yeah.
yeah, I say let's just let it roll, and yeah, it'd be great.
All right, cool. Well, so do you? I know we call you Nick, but I saw your
Yep.
name is Steven, so you want to go by Nick?
Yeah.
Okay.
It was unpopular to be called a junior in the '80s, I guess. So we
Uh,
went with my middle name.
yeah, I hear that. Yeah, there was a lot of juniors back then. Now
Yeah.
that I think of it.
Yep.
So, for those of you folks listening, this is Nick McNally. I met him at UHP. Did I say your last name right?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay. So I met him at UHP, University of Health and Performance. We kind of, I mean, I'll speak for myself. I feel like we clicked and we had some similar interests. And this is pretty much our first long conversation we're going to have. So I'm not sure how it's going to unfold, but, um, hopefully you get something from this, and I'm sure you will. And we're just going to let it go. Let it go where it goes. Let it do what it does. So, mm, let's start from where are you from?
So I grew up in Southern California, first 18 years of my life out in the Ventura County area, and then came into the service. Tried college for about 6 months after I graduated high school, and wasn't for me. And obviously the war had kicked off by then, and I wanted to always serve, so joined the army and headed out to Fort Benning. Spent my 19th birthday at 30th AG. That was fun.
So what made you what was there other people that served, or was it like 9/11 that you joined, or like what was the reason why you joined?
I mean, the only thing I can figure out is, that makes sense to me looking back at it now is my grandfather. He was a bomber on the bombers back in World War II. My dad tried to enlist, had open heart surgery when he was a baby and wasn't able to, so he tried going in as well. And then my mom said when I was born, I loved GI Joes and growing up and running around the yard and stuff. And so I think it was just something that was always there. My family was always very patriotic and yeah, I mean, I saw the opportunity, and I always want to take care of people, and uh, guess a little bit of adrenaline in there or whatnot when I was younger, and yeah, I saw the opportunity, and I was like, you know what, that's what I want to do.
Yeah. And it's like I had a conversation with one of the guys, A-10 pilot, and he was talking about how like um flying was always in his family, and there's something I didn't know about him prior to then. But with that, it's like I've been kind of it's interesting how who we choose to become based off of like who's around us when we're growing up. I mean, at the end of the day, we have a choice, but it's pretty cool. Like something a sense of service kind of echoes with some folks more than others.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. I mean, I do believe that as well. Like, between the social structure of how we grow up between our family and then our close friends, and then even just like the society that or the general culture that we grow up in, it definitely influences heavily, like what we choose to do and how we go forward with it.
Yeah. What did kind of like did you play any sports in high school? Like,
I did, yeah. So I played football first couple of years, and I realized that that wasn't really going anywhere. We didn't have a really good team anyways out where I was from, but so I ended up playing baseball, cross country, and track, and lettered all three of those. I think it's how I got my speed, or obviously like my middle distance endurance. So
So you said speed. I imagine like running or endurance is one of your strengths.
yeah, I was a middle distance runner, so ran the 4x4, the 8, the mile, and then occasionally the 2 mile for my high school.
Nice. I
Yeah.
did you did you like winning any like awards or anything or
I did. I went to CIF Southern Section, and I uh, I ran pretty well the my junior year, if I believe correctly. But I podiumed that year, and then senior year, super big competition in the state of California, but still did pretty well. But um, yeah, I was pretty happy with it. So ended up going to like I said, I went to that half year of college, and that's what I was actually going for. I was going to run for the track team out there, and and just never made it to track season because it just wasn't in the cards at the time.
was that like the injury or
No, no, honestly, it was just a disinterest in school at that point. I definitely I became a much better student later on when I went back to college in my 30s, when I actually wanted to do it. But when I was 18 years old, I had no interest in high school. I was a 2.3 or 5 GPA type of kid. I was generally surfing or running around with friends or stuff like that. So school wasn't the big one for me at the time.
yeah, I hear that, man. I still have an issue with school, and I think we kind of touched on this when I was at
Hmm.
UHP, and it's more so the just sitting there and um just sitting there and then kind of just being talked at you. And maybe college is different, or I mean, I did do some online stuff, and that's probably like another a very good um I don't know what's the word, a good litmus test of like whether or not that's for me. But I consider going back. What did you like going back to like run like was there something that you learned? Like what was the biggest one of the biggest lessons you learned while doing uh endurance?
I mean, I think one of the biggest things was, I mean, endurance for me started when I was really young. I work ethic, we talked about, our values and stuff like that. And obviously work ethic is my third one of my biggest ones. Reason being, when I was super young, we had a bunch of horses, and my mom managed a ranch, and I used to take people out on horseback, and that's a lot of work, like working on a ranch and maintaining that many animals, and especially for the size of them. But I'd work from morning to night on the weekends, and then during the weekdays, I'd still help out, around school and stuff like that, and around sports and everything. So my days were pretty full. So um, got really used to always moving around, and just sports were important. I think that kept me out of trouble for the most part, growing up. That, and the influence of my parents and stuff like that. And so yeah, like when it came to endurance, I built it over time, and I built it from a young age, and it turned out to be super beneficial. When I entered the service, and then made a career with the military.
Was that always something like did you always enjoy it or was there like a growing process as a kid like you're like, man, I don't want to be doing this, so I'd rather be doing something else? Or was it always like, man, this is cool, like or you just you just didn't know any better. That's how young you started.
Yeah, yeah, no, I mean, I always enjoyed sports. Um, uh, Always enjoyed people, so always liked being part of a team. And so, got into sports super young, and the endurance portion of it, I don't know why, but running, I just always enjoyed. And I got better and better and better at it. And then by the time I got to high school, I was one of the lead runners for my high school team, and coaches put a lot of work into me. And yeah, no, it was I guess I didn't think it as a teenager, but it was super rewarding, to be able to put in that work, and then see the results of it.
And what was the like was it the same for working on a ranch?
Yeah, no, I mean, I have some of my fondest memories being young, being on horseback, getting the opportunity to meet people, taking them out in the Santa Monica Mountains, getting a team pen, and a little bit of team roping, I remember when I won my first buckle at a county fair. My
Oh,
mom being
cool.
like super, yeah, mom was super proud of me, and I think I was like 12 or 13 at the time, so I didn't think much of it, other than it was super cool, and everybody else was pumped, and I was pumped. But I just I liked being the lifestyle was pretty awesome. I no complaints, at least in terms of the opportunities I got growing up. But came with a lot of hard work.
Yeah, definitely. We've been helping out with for the last 3.5 years with a nonprofit called Rustic Ranch Texas here in Castroville, Texas. Started by a Marine vet, and I was never really around horses when I was younger. Um, but I got to ride one once, and I learned real quickly don't do it in basketball shorts. But yeah, I was a city kid. Like one of our coaches took us out, and he had a ranch in I think Lavernia. And either way, like fast forward, we ended up helping on the we've been like ranch hands, and it's something I really enjoy to do and kind of mix it up, right? But one of the fascinating things about horses is, and you could probably attest to this, you probably have a lot more experience, is just how I guess it would be like an animal, or like any animal, like they can sense your energy, and then with a horse, it's
Mhm.
like their magnetic, not magnetic field. I guess the magnetic field that their energy field, they can like already know if they want to be around somebody or not, right? And
Mhm.
they will reject if a person's not in the right place. Because and on top of that, if you're in the right place, they accept you. But it's fascinating to me, like those huge creatures, and then how we used to not too long ago before the automobile, right? That was the way we got around as humans.
Yeah.
And then once the automobile came around, we kind of just lost that connection with nature.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. The relationship with us and horses, I mean, goes back, thousands of years. But yeah, they're absolutely magnificent creatures, and I mean, are magnificent animals. And I mean, when you look at it, I mean, the relationship that people and horses have together, especially when they're doing like sports, either like the penning or barrel racing, roping, anything like that. I mean, that takes a large amount of trust by both the horse and the human getting on the horse to be able to do something like that together.
What was that process like for you, especially like as a kid? Is it like a horse you just like you train together, or is it just like what?
So yeah. No, I had a horse named Sid that the owner of the ranch actually got from Mexico City, if I remember correctly. I think she said she got the horse for like $500, and he wasn't big. He was a quarter horse. I think he was about 16 hands or something like that. He wasn't like super big or anything, but he could cut really fast. He could move quickly, and he was incredibly smart. So I mean, it almost took nothing to for me and him to kind of make a friendship, and then yeah, we started training together and rode him every weekend for years and years and years. And yeah, we had a lot of fun together. So, but we definitely built a pretty solid bond.
Yeah, I bet. I mean, that's cool. I mean, like Lotus. I mean, you met Lotus, but like to have like that's probably the closest to any animal I've ever been to or her, and it's pretty cool to now experience that and appreciate it now, right? Like to not just with Lotus, but just to have that connection with nature and that connection with something like bigger, right? It's like, man, like what else don't I know, right? And it kind of it keeps that curiosity fresh and trying to understand and explore more things. And within that, I feel like we find ourselves more within it. The greater everything.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, yeah, I mean, that's what life's all about is exploring experience and then just, sharing the bit of time that we do get together with each other, you know, trying all sorts of things.
Yeah. So when you decided to join the military, what is that something like you asked your parents permission, or you just did it, or like what were their thoughts around that?
Yeah. So, my parents were pretty supportive of whatever I did. The my dad was he was a trucker, and I think I get a lot of my empathy from him. Just kind of his demeanor and the way he brought me up, but also a lot of my firmness and in the sense of like staying focused on the things that I want to do. And then on my mom's side, she was kind of because she was the one that had me at the ranch, so she was kind of the one that trained me in work ethic, discipline, and then just being reliable. Um, and so when the time came to I graduated high school, the one thing they told me, I still remember to this day. My mom she was like, "Hey, the day you turn 18," because I had a summer birthday at the back end of, when I graduated in August. She was like, "When you turn 18, I hope you have a place to stay." And, kind of laughed it off until I realized she was serious. And then she was. And so they made sure I was okay. I got a job and made sure I could pay rent, and I tried school, and then I remember going and telling them like, "Hey, I think I'm going to join the military." And honestly, both of them were super supportive of them. My dad told me all about my family at that point. Remember going to see my grandfather, who was still alive at the time. Talked to my uncles, and then my mom's side, she was concerned and worried, but at the same time, I could tell she was proud that I was getting out there and I was doing some. I think just since it was it was so early when it was 2004, so the kicked off a few years prior. Um, so it was kind of known that I was going to end up doing something. We just didn't know what. And then when I went in the infantry, that's where they got a little concerned. But like I said, they were supportive the whole way through. So
Hey, yeah, I can imagine. For me, it was my mom kind of gen the idea just because of the neighborhood I was in, and she was like, "There's kind of like nothing for you." We didn't have money for school, but it was that same thing. We had disagreement about it. Fast forward, I didn't tell them, and I just joined, right? But she told me later on that she was worried. I mean, granted, I went Air Force, but um, either way, there's still risks around that. At the time, and you don't know what you don't know. Um, so
about every plane was flying back then. Hey, you guys had a lot of risks back then.
yeah, 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 definitely. I mean, I was calm, so we touched whole lot of different systems, and I was out the door quite a bit. I think Sandy and I's marriage, I spent like probably like 60 or 70% of it gone.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's crazy to think about it, like when you kind of go back and it's like a different lifetime. But like what was that first day like when you got off the bus or the plane or wherever, like when you got to Fort Benning or
Yeah.
to, yeah, Fort Benning.
I had a pretty interesting experience with that. I mean, so excuse me. My mom is well, still to this day, she won't fly. She's got some anxiety behind it and stuff. And so I'd never been on an airplane before, let alone I had never been out really outside of the greater Southern California area. So I didn't know the earth got any colder than about 65 or any hotter than about 85 in like dry, arid heat. Because I lived out on the coastline or by the coastline. And so I jumped on a plane for the first time ever from MEPS. I remember it being you're out of your element, but I didn't really know what to think. I just did what I was told and got on a plane. So my first flight was out to Fort Benning, Georgia in August. And I remember landing in in Atlanta. And as soon as I felt the doors open and that heat rush over me, that was different.
I bet. Uh, yeah, I mean, yeah, it was I think that's why I chose uh January. I mean, I was in the delayed entry program for about 6 months, but yeah,
Yeah.
just because I knew how
It,
fucking hot Texas was. Um, so you get off the plane and then you go into basic training. What was that
yeah.
like?
Yeah. Basic training wasn't too bad. I was still in really, really good shape. So basic training for me actually wasn't much of an issue. I actually did really well there. I did well enough to where at the end they gave me some options for some different assignments because I had just gone in as infantry and I honestly didn't know a ton about the Army, being from Southern California, like all the units and the things that I know now. Um, so I remember they approached me towards the end there, and they were like, "Do you want to go to airborne school?" And I was like, "Sure." And then they were like, "It comes with this contract," and it was a RIP contract at the time, for the 75th Ranger Regiment, and I had heard of them before, but I didn't really know what Rangers did or anything like that at the time. And so fast forward, I get done with basic training, went to airborne school. So the second plane I got on, I ended up exiting, and I like to say I did it, um, you know, boom, like just got after it. I may have passed out at the door, or I don't know. Either which way I went out of the aircraft, um,
Yeah.
but yeah, it was that was a little nerve wracking. And then right after airborne, went to uh, went to RIP, uh, and yeah, got done with RIP in January. So August to January, went through those 3 bits of training. Traveled in February up to Fort Lewis, Washington. I got stationed up there at a Second Ranger Battalion, and then a month later, I was in Baghdad.
Whoa. So you went from having your second flight jumping out of a plane, ever on a plane, right? Is that right? So your
Yeah.
second time and you got pushed out of a plane or got out of a plane somehow. And then your third flight, you're going to Baghdad.
Well, there were spot jumps in airborne school, so I jumped out a few more times, and then yeah, but yeah,
Okay.
essentially that pretty much everything after the first flight. Yeah, it was every time I got on a plane, it seemed like it was different.
Yeah. Dang.
So
Um, so go back to uh like airborne school. Like what did you learn about yourself there? Like what was that like forging um prior to Baghdad, but like what did you learn about yourself is
yeah,
pretty much the gist of it.
I mean, I was still super young at the time, so at the time I was just trying to do what everybody else does, and that's get out there and essentially do your best. If you're gonna say you're gonna do something, do it. Regardless of how you're feeling and stuff. And I think I had that idea at a young age, even though I didn't really realize it. Um, but yeah, I mean, I just got there and I knew I was out of my element. Half the time I was always stressed out of my mind. But whatever they told me to do, I did. And yeah, I mean, it got easier and easier over the years, but um, yeah, I think that was probably my first true taste of, as an adult choosing, what type of person I was going to end up becoming.
Yeah. It sounds like, I mean, kind of what I'm picking up is just like it was just you really didn't have time to be in your head too long because it was just constantly like stuff was being thrown at you and
Yeah.
you're just like I'm just kind of gonna follow along and do what I need to do to get to the next phase because it's just you don't have time to really process too long because if you did, then you
Yeah.
would be washed out.
Yeah. Yeah. It's either do it or, head on your way somewhere else. And they always gave that option. I just, I never, I guess I just never took it.
Yeah. Was there ever a point where you're just like, what the fuck am I doing? Like, like I kind of,
I, I, I had a pretty big one in there. Yeah. So it was, the the girl that I was dating that later became my wife at 20 years. Um, she stayed with me the entire time that we were in service together, and we're still good friends to this day. But I do remember we almost did not get married. I had finished up airborne school, and we'd been dating in high school. We were high school sweethearts, and um, I asked her to marry me when I was in basic training and
mm,
over the phone, real romantic. And she said she yes and everything. And so she's planning, the wedding, not a big one. But we were going to do that. And get done with airborne school. It's the Christmas Exodus period, so we chose December 22nd to get married because I knew I was going home for leave before I went to this selection, whatever it was. So the selection cadre show up, and I remember they told us, get down, and we start doing push-ups and everything. A couple hundred of us out there, and they're telling us we're not going on leave now. We're not doing this. We're not doing that. And
Shit.
and so I'm sitting there, and then they're like, "Hey, if you want to go, if you want to go on leave and you don't want to do this, there's no hard feelings in it. And just come over here." And they dropped about half of us right there. I mean, half the formation split. Um, and So they do that a little bit more and more. And then finally, I remember sitting on my face and probably welling up at that point if I remember, because in my mind I was like, well, I guess I'm not getting married. And I who knows if she'll stick around or not. But I said I was going to do this, so I'm going to do it. And I'm going to keep to my word. And then I remember after a little while, they got us up and they said, "When you guys get back from leave, you're ours," or something like that. And so I'm sitting there really confused. I'm like, "So am I going home? Am I not going home?" Like, but
Hey.
but yeah, and it ended up going home, getting married, and so I did all that in the middle of that, and then went through selection, passed, and then as she actually drove up with me, I got her an apartment up there, and then like I said, I was out the door.
Dang. And yeah, that's tough. But it's one of those things, right? You're sticking through it, right? You're uh kind of being rewarded for, like you said, doing what you said you were gonna do. Um, man, yeah, I can see that at that moment in time, at that stage of your life, it's like this tough choice that you're kind of faced with at such a young age, right? And it's like, I mean, the idea of love or love in general,
Oh yeah,
it has this pull, right? And
yeah,
it's like almost like the end. I don't know, it sounds dramatic, but I mean, that's what kind of what it feels like. It's like the end of the world if I don't do this. But yeah, it's like I'm tough. I have this tough choice,
yeah.
and
No, yeah. You hit it spot on. That's exactly what it was. I mean, it was at least up to that point in my life the
yeah,
hardest decision I think I had to make. It definitely didn't feel great when I made it. But then obviously it switched around and yeah, so everything ended up working out just fine for at least that period of time.
yeah. So, man, that's crazy. That's crazy. I mean,
Yeah.
it's hard to say what I would have done in that situation. We're two different people. Um, so when you finally completed your training before you went to Baghdad, what was the sense of accomplishment like that sense of pride? Like, what did you even have that, or was it just like, all right, next thing?
Yeah, no, I mean, I remember everything. Fairly well. I like to think that I had this like just overrush of all those things you said, accomplishment and stuff. But honestly, I think for probably the first, I mean, 2, 3 years of the military between back-to-back deployments and schools and then training and everything like that. I mean, I really didn't get a breather at all. I mean, how most of us are young. You just go, 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 and um, it was rewarding. There was definitely an addiction to accomplishing things. And going like, hey, like this, you want to go do this? Yeah, I want to go do that. I want to go do that. Um, I always, when I retired this past year, it was one of the things I passed off. When I was saying goodbye to everybody, it was like, I had a couple of things that I learned along the way, and one of them was I said yes to everything. If there was an opportunity out there and somebody was like, "Do you want to try this?" Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah, I didn't learn that till later on in my life. Um, and it's interesting how, like, I think back to certain opportunities I may have missed out on because of the loyalty that I had either with family or with like just fear in general. And but like now, fast forward, I'm later in my life, I'm kind of doing that, right? I'm like continually like challenging myself in various ways, and I think it's interesting that we all come to that place and accept the challenge when we're ready, I guess, or when we kind of come out of
Yeah,
whatever state we're in. It's almost like that. I don't know. Like, I think for me it was, um, and I'm not trying to make it about me right now, but I'm just speaking in general, right? It's just like
yeah,
because I can appreciate, and there's some like small level of I hate to use the word regret because that word is but I'm trying to learn to give myself grace in that because it brought me to where I'm at now, right?
yeah,
And doing the things that I'm doing now, like UHP, that as well. I mean, there's a
yep,
lot of things that kind of went into that decision and going, and there's a lot of things that I was telling myself, and a lot of life, real time life issues that I was like, I don't want to go because I got to do these other things, but um, it's kind of like the decision you made, right? It's like, well, I said I was gonna do this thing, so I'm gonna do it, and it
yep,
ended up rewarding itself, or you ended up being rewarded for it, right? For making
yeah,
the right decision. Um,
yeah,
but with that, it's like I think for me, it was just like one, I should have died a bunch of times, and I think as men, boys, or whatever, like especially in high school, and then like the military, I did a lot of dumb shit, and then put myself in precarious situations, and then just life in general, kind of throwing stuff at me. And then fast forward, you know, I've talked about this before, an attempt, that I had in my life. And yeah, so like I think since then and kind of this awakening, right, of like, and that's one of the questions I had asked you. And when you replied on Instagram about like where you're at in this life and trying to
yeah,
help vets and uh, create this balance with society and trying to kind of air out whatever it is, like what I don't want to say necessarily stories, but experiences, and to try to bring people to that homeostasis, if you will, that parasympathetic state, right? So that way they can rationally think and make the right decisions, not only for themselves but for their families, and that's just going to echo, right, and better our existence, at least in theory. Um,
yeah.
Does that make sense, or am I putting stuff in? Did I read
No,
into
no,
that too much?
that makes perfect sense to me. There was something that I wrote some time ago. I still have it in one of my journals, but I had very similar thoughts to what you were saying, and I remember writing one time, if life was designed perfect already in everything we endeavor to do, there'd be no reason for any of us to be here.
Yeah.
Um, we get to experience everything life has to offer us, and that's there's good experiences, there's bad experiences, there's the space in between. But at the end of the day, like life is pretty awesome when you think about it, especially when you get to the age that you and I are, where we get to take those experiences and the little bit of wisdom that we have and that we continue to grow every single day, and we get to learn it for ourselves and then give it, learn and give, and like a it's that's one of the coolest parts of the phase of life that at least I feel like we're in right now is we are getting to that point where um, yeah, we've lived a little bit of life, and now at this point, um, we can speak intelligently on it based off our experiences, and then we can give that back to people younger than us, people our peers, and then even have great conversations with the generation above us.
When like yeah, that's what, like Will said. Um, when did you come to that place in understanding of like this way forward and to try to help others in this different context?
Yeah, no, I think for me and you, we had a good conversation about this when you were down here. Um, but for me, obviously, I think it for me stemmed from my alcoholism. Like that mid or that early to mid 30s where I think I had a lot of anger still built up, just from the things I was doing, organization I was from. I didn't really understand the world. I was just constantly in chaotic areas and stuff like that. Um, and then there was some other things in there too, but there was a portion of life and I'm embarrassed to say, I was giving up on humanity, and people in general and stuff like that, and it was really easy to numb myself, and never made it a big deal or anything. Never really went out in public much, or at all really. But yeah, man, I'm started drinking when I had time off and stuff like that, and what I wasn't doing was I wasn't being I don't think I was a bad father. I always provided. I was always there, for the things, but if I was intoxicated, I wasn't really there. So I definitely wasn't a good father, in the younger portions of my kids' lives. Probably not a good husband, the best husband I could be, or a good husband. Um, and so around 30, when I was 35, yeah, I'll be sober for 5 years coming up this January. So, um, for me, when I let my brain build some clarity back up into it, and I had already started school, back up again, and I wanted to understand all the things we did. So I did an undergraduate in strategic studies, um, and started trying to learn about all the things you and I were doing, and all of our brothers and sisters running around the world for better part of 2 decades. um, I started to grow some faith again in humanity, and then like I said, the clearer and clearer things got, and the better and better I felt, and the more and more I interacted with people, I realized, um, I kind of came out of a dark period, um, that thankfully, nothing terrible, super terrible happened, but came out of a dark period of my life there, and then I got back to where I felt like I was like 15-year-old and surfing Nick, like just happy Nick, and then went back to school for my grad program. I did international relations because I generally like people and I like studying, so I did that, kind of on the realm of sociology, and I realized, man, like this planet's freaking awesome. Like people are freaking cool. Like cultures are freaking like like they just everything that people have to offer is absolutely amazing if you allow it. And yeah, so I mean, for me, I got a lot of my faith, in God and people and everything, and then just generally the will to live and want to keep going, um, both from clarity, but I also had to have some very, very dark, depressing, and humiliating moments on my end. And once I accepted those and realized that, I'm not perfect, but I'm glad that I'm, working towards bettering myself every day. That's I think where I really kind of flipped the lens.
Yeah, and it's interesting, and I think about this from time to time, how on one, like when I think back to the dark days for me, it's like I couldn't see on the other side of it, but at the same time, like in my mind, I would tell myself that, like, I'm saving myself, I'm saving others from me, right? And I didn't appreciate life. I didn't care for life. There was like no taste. There was no smell. There was nothing. It was just like numb. And with that, I didn't care to die. And then like on the other, I mean, I didn't care to live. But on the other side of it, and it's like to kind of come on the other side of it, at least to this point of understanding now, and to be able to overcome the some of the addictions that I have, and I am more mindful of when other things start to become an addiction. And I use addiction because even when I went to like when I was an inpatient, I went to like a 12-step program, and because I was like, well, I ain't gonna do anything else here, you know what I mean? Like, might as well try to
Yeah.
learn and do everything I can. And I stayed on step one because I never admitted the idea that I was addicted to something. But I think
Yeah.
the crazy thing about it is that I didn't know that there's different forms of addiction, right? There, some people, in my mind, what I thought was that somebody that's addicted to somebody is they have to wake up every morning and drink or do whatever, and they have to do it like all day or whatever. But there's variations of that. You can go like months without doing whatever, and then you just binge on it. And then there's another like so there's like three types. I feel I remember if I remember correctly. But I always try to understand by the people that came in, like, man, where do I fit in this scenario, and am I addicted to it? But then I realized for me specifically, it's it's the subtle, like boiling a frog. I say this often, but like it's like boiling a frog. It's so subtle before you know it, you're addicted to it, and it could be food, it could be anything else, but it's when it consumes you. And mountain biking almost did that for me as well because it just became another crutch until
Hmm.
I realized what it was happening. And I had said a while back, I don't ever want something to define me and define me like just being one dimensional. So I started to kind of pull back out of it. I still do it. I love to mountain bike, but I'm just more, I respect it now because with mountain biking, I was like trying to progress and progress and progress, and that came with a lot of injuries, you know.
Yeah.
But with that, it sounds like so. What I was saying, what I was kind of putting on, what you were saying is, and I can see like a similar transition or similar realization where you really didn't, and forgive me if I'm putting words in your mouth, but it sounds like similar where you didn't really value life at that moment because, or just even realize what this life is and this existence is, and the appreciate both the good and the bad of it, right? And but on the other side of it, and in the place you're on now, trying to improve every day, the more you do that, the more you kind of overcome whether being uncomfortable or uh, choosing to be there for someone or anything else like that, or even this path you're on right now. It's almost like you start to relish existence and being now more than you did then. Does that make sense?
No, you couldn't have said that any better. That was spot on. Yeah, I mean, like when you look at my profile, I had managed to keep a marriage running for what 15 years at that point. I just had my third daughter. Everybody was healthy. Family was still around, and I had every reason in the world to be happy. And I just wasn't. I just, I had that closet depression, I can empathize with anybody who has it because I never in a million years thought I would ever, adopt that trait or anything. And that's exactly what happened. And once you're in it, um, hell of a thing to get out of it.
Yeah, man, it's like quicksand. Like,
Yeah.
at least for me, that's what it was. And then, but on top, like, and I wasn't surprised when I asked you like what your passions were, and then you replied with what you replied. Um, but at the same time, it was just like, dang, like, and I say this, I've said this to a to a few different people, that I feel like when we're born, we are kind of at this place, right? Almost like I don't want to say near perfect, but like near innocence, right? And then like all these things happen to our being, right? And throughout life, and it
Yeah.
knocks us off the center, and we are kind of when we finally realize it and we decide to do something about it, and even though we're searching and we're like trying all these different methods, and whether it's meditation or praying or yoga or working out, whatever, right? It doing all those things kind of starts to bring you back to center, and like on along the way we meet others that are trying to do the same, right? And that's like the path back to the middle, back to our center, because and then even though we're trying to get back there, there's other things that knock us off. But yeah, and so to meet you in UHB and to have this conversation and have the honor of this conversation is it's awesome, man, because when you first start the journey, at least like it's you kind of feel alone in it, and some of the things that we speak of or we try to say, like a lot of times it seems like it falls on deaf ears. Because I don't know if most people don't know what to do or say about it or how to be around it. But it's awesome and refreshing and kind of another like mark on the the scale of having faith back in humanity is to meet others like yourself that are trying to do the same similar thing in their own way. Um, yeah, man. I'm just saying that. So I guess what I'm saying is I appreciate you and what you're doing to try to not only better yourself, but also those you come across.
No, I truly appreciate that. But I mean, you kind of mentioned it earlier, like at the beginning of our conversation when we were talking about, how we grow, socially as people, with the people around us and stuff like that. Like I'm literally enveloped around in my mind. I mean, I get to work with my heroes every single day. People who selflessly give their lives up and sacrifice some of their freedoms in the service of, 330 other million people, most of which they will never meet, know, or maybe even travel into their town. Um, I mean, I literally get to work with, you know, people, our veteran community and people like that every single day. So, I mean, I feel incredibly blessed. And at the same time, meeting guys like you and getting to share time and then, build perspective and increase my knowledge base and then just a general perspective of the world. Yeah, man, I couldn't be any more prouder and more contented in life than where I'm at right now because I get to live my purpose and my happiness out every day.
And I think I better understand. Like I remember you talking about it there, but it's hard to really put it into perspective. Like, yeah, because we're on the other side of it, right? We're going through it. We're trying to um, get ready for the test. We're trying to learn how to coach. There's like a lot being thrown at us. But from your perspective, and you're on your side of the table, so to speak, you're able to kind of pick the brains of all these people that like all these veterans that are going through it, right? And learn some of their stories and their experiences and kind of, have time to kind of like hash it out in your mind and like process. It's like you're and I don't think I'm saying being extreme in this, but you're kind of working at the like this is gonna sound off crappy, but like a factory like where they're forging like um or like rebuilding individuals, right? And in this case it's veterans.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Another word that, I use is to empower them,
Mm,
like veterans bring something very, very specific to the table and that's their ability to self-start and their leadership attributes, which go hand in hand with one another. But the ability for people to move and actually make decisive action. I mean, that's very, very inherent in the role of somebody who can call themselves a veteran, because somewhere along the way they had to make a whole bunch of decisions to basically move and to, like I said, they sacrifice. We sacrifice freedoms. We do sacrifice our time, and yeah, I mean, there's nothing more selfless to me. Now, that being said, um, we get to the point where the ride and service comes to an end, and then we're back, domestic in the United States, and we're working towards, hey, what do we do next? Um, Maybe I'm not traveling across one of the oceans anymore. Maybe I'm not going on training events every month. And now I'm more static and I'm in a place where, hey, I need to decide, what am I going to do? Am I going to join something in my community? Am I going to branch out? Generally, generally the majority of veterans that I meet, they have a vision in their head or they have an idea of their future. And oftentimes they have a bunch of knowledge, and myself included, a period of time where it was kind of splintered and fractured and there was a plan in there, but maybe it wasn't completed. And so the ability for people to come down to a space, take some time and actually work with their brothers and sisters, um, to put that plan together. I mean, there's nothing more powerful than a veteran that has a solid plan and a I'm going to do this attitude. I mean, when you see that look in their eyes that it's going to happen, there's nothing more powerful in the world to me because they're going to do it.
Yeah. Yeah, and I find, especially being working in the veteran space or a nonprofit space for some amount of time, it's we often don't give ourselves enough credit in the way of what we're capable of because we minimize our experiences and we because we're constantly like looking up to those that are what we feel or better leaders or better this or that, right? And we focus on more. I'll speak for myself. I don't speak for all veterans, but I focus more like on what I'm not good at as opposed to what I am good at. And that's shifting. That's been shifting for some time, and that's being like around folks like yourself and other people that are equally motivating in their conviction, right? Um, so I'm gonna kind of rewind a little bit, but you leave um, Ranger School, you get your tab, you go to Baghdad. What year was this?
Well, so interestingly enough, when you go through selection, you actually go through RIP, so or
Okay.
what's now called RASP. But you go through a selection for specifically for the 75th Ranger Regiment, and then in order to stay there, you go to the U.S. Army's Ranger School, and that's a 90-day leadership process where under extreme fatigue, you're expected to perform duties that can inspire others to move under very stressful situations for long periods of time, generally without food, without sleep, and and to see if you can keep going. And so going back to that first couple of years of my life, or, life in the military, it was it was what basic airborne RIP, deployed, came back, went to Ranger School, deployed again, came back, went to dive school down in Key West, came back, deployed again. Um, Came back from that, went to a couple of hand-to-hand schools, deployed again. And so, like I said, the first 2, 3 years, probably almost 3 years I was in, I don't think I was home for more than a month or two.
Man. Yeah. It's it's amazing how much you learn about yourself all in that process, and what you're capable of um and highlight what you need to work on, right?
You're just moving a lot. Yeah. I mean, it's yeah, like I said, after even after a long career, I just finished 20 years of service. I retired, what, 7 months ago. And, a lot of it is still catching up with me. I realized afterwards I was really confident getting out, and I felt good, and I felt ready, and I do. I still feel like Nick, and I'm happy. But there's definitely some deprogramming that's still needed. So
That makes sense. And for me, I mean, granted, we have different experiences. I've been out a little bit longer, so I've had more time to process and kind of deprogram.
yeah.
One of the things I noticed with the deprogramming, so to speak, is like just I see society differently, like with a different, like, and I've talked about this before where you're in the military, you don't really have time to process a whole lot of stuff because it's whatever the mission is. You don't have to worry about politics or, I mean, you worry about it because it's troop movements and all these things, but where
Sure.
like, but you can't get it lost in the sauce with it because you are in the bubble and you have to do whatever it is, regardless of whoever's elected. But fast forward, getting out, it's just like, just kind of taken out of that and on many different levels, but able to kind of just see the world from a different lens and understand like um, kind of based off of whatever missions you were on or whatever intel you got or whatever, and then to kind of just uh, I don't know, it's kind of like it's gonna sound extreme, but like Neo in the Matrix, when he's kind of just seeing
Hmm.
the code or whatever. Um,
Yep.
And but yeah, so you've been out for 7 months, and I think within time, as that um, as you kind of mentally kind of start to drop the responsibilities that you feel like you still have in like inherently, and you're like, oh shit, I don't have to do that anymore. It's like the first thing is your uniform, right? I don't have to wear that anymore. And that there comes a certain level of what's the word? Um, I don't want to say sadness, but there is a loss with it, right? Because there's a lot of good and then there's some bad in there, right? But
Yeah.
yeah, I forget that you haven't been out that long.
No, yeah, and to your point, kind of, the one thing that I'm very, very positive of is the United States in general is still insanely strong. We critique ourselves more than anybody else on this planet about where we are socially, economically, or environmentally, like, how we're doing, or basically the domains of humanity, how we exist. But when you look at it intellectually, we're getting smarter. 20 years ago, I had to hold a satellite phone up with a 3 foot antenna at like a whatever degree angle so I could make a 5 minute call to home. And now I can hop on my iPhone. Um, you know, Last year I was out in the islands, out in the South Pacific, and I'm talking to my daughters. Um, on FaceTime whenever I wanted to, just to say hi to them. So people that invented all that technology, incredibly strong intellectually, physically, yeah, we have seen a little bit of a hit in the fitness side of things, but people are still doing amazing things all over the place. Maybe with some of the gaming and stuff, people aren't moving around as much as maybe our parents were and then we were and stuff like that. And everybody says the next generation is weaker than the next, but I just don't see it. I just see it as different. Um, I've traveled around to 33 different countries on this planet, and I haven't seen a single country that's stronger than the United States yet, and the people that are in it, and the people that want, whether they know it or not, to protect their freedoms and to protect their way of life and to be able to live in a place where there is clean water and food. Whether you have a little bit of money or a lot of money, there is some form of food available, um, which until you actually see it, where there is absolutely none of that in other places of the world, um, you gain a very, very deep appreciation, as I have, that we live in the place that we do in the time period that we do. So
Yeah,
so yeah.
sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, no, sorry.
I agree with you. For a minute, I kind of fell in the thoughts of like, man, this generation and I like, not be able to like socially speak or talk, communicate with each other like face to face, and that's still a thing. But I think with each step of evolution, there is a lag in as humans adapt, right, or adopt these new technologies. Um, and I feel like that growth is kind of shifting over to the next level where the generation behind that is kind of tired of hearing that they are weak or they are this or
Hmm.
that and are doing something about it, whether it's being more knowledgeable or especially like if you use technology in the right way, like YouTube, um,
Hmm.
you could, going back to another reference of the Matrix, when they plug them up and he's just like,
Yep.
I know Kung Fu. That's pretty much what
Yep.
I feel it is because that's how I've used it is for education. Um,
Yeah.
but with that, it's another layer to that. Yes, I do agree with you as well that we as a country, like we're blessed to live here and be here because of the infrastructure we have, the consistency of it, the availability for food, shit, so much, too much probably at times. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, there's things that we need to work on, but I don't buy into the idea where a lot of people are like, I'm gonna leave this country because, this or that. And it's like, man, have you actually gone to another country? Have you seen uh
Yeah, there's first time you see miles long of white tents that say US 8 on them with a bunch of people under them with almost nothing and families all around the place with nothing, not even hope left really. I mean,
Mm.
that's about one of the saddest things you can possibly see. So, but yeah, I mean, in terms of in terms of, like the population as we continue to grow, I mean, I think we'll continue to grow resilient, we'll grow strong. And a lot of people always throw that adjective out there that the next generation's weaker than the next, or, both in the military and just in the general population. And it's always been comical to me that, like if, when I left the military, I didn't leave thinking like anybody needed me or anything like that. Everything was fine. Like there were some stellar people, way smarter than I was, that were coming in to fill my position and everything else, and I got to work with them, and they were awesome people. And so I left the military with a smile on my face, knowing that everything was going to be fine, and they were going to be, they were going to do great stuff. And it was always comical to me because all the people who went the other way with it, who would say, "Hey, kids are not growing up strong anymore," or "Hey, we're not raising our military right," or anything like that. It's like, well, that's on you. That would
Yeah.
have been on me. If the next generation is coming up and they're weaker than my generation was, that's on us. Like we're the ones responsible for raising children of the next generation. We're the ones responsible for raising the next population in the military. And so, they are that the way they come up is nothing more than a reflection of the things that we bring to the table to bring up the next group of people, and then they'll do the same thing in suit.
Yeah, it's like old age saying, right? It takes a village. Like, um, I was I try to keep in mind like you're always trying to train your replacement. So
Yeah.
you like, and it was interesting to me how folks would hold on to information. And I'm not saying a lot of people, but there was some that would hold on to the information because they didn't want to, they wanted to be the gatekeeper of whatever that was or is. And it's just like, if I learned anything, it was like, what if you're not here? Like, how's it gonna get done? So, I definitely showed people and told people probably more than they needed to know. Um, and the same thing kind of fast forward into um, I run, I manage the race team for the Dirt Therapy Project, and those are the people I try to find is um, yes, you can race mountain bikes. My goal is not to, I mean, you could be great at it. You could um, compete as high as or like at a high level if you choose to. But I ask people, don't be a dick. Like, you're one of the things I ask is that you kind of be that presence in the community to be like I don't want to say the big brother where you're like telling people what to do, but the presence where you're kind of leading by example and you're showing people if they have like a mechanical or they break something or if they need some tips doing this or that, or even a
Yeah.
life experience if an opportunity presents itself, share that with them. If the moment is right. I'm not asking for people to be like a preacher in the community or nothing like that, but like have that presence where you could people can come to you and you kind of be like that elder or that leader, right? And guide people through it. And that's one of the main things I look for is to be a good person and to try to have that positive. I mean, like positive presence, be the seen face
Yeah. To inspire.
to inspire, exactly, and
Yeah.
just be genuine with it, be cool about it, and because I feel like, and it's not just to vets, but it's also like to um, civilians too. There's a lot of young kids that are racing, and it's a fun scene. But at the same time, like with anything else, it's people are seeking mountain biking or whatever sport, jujitsu or whatever, to either escape something or to deal with something. Especially extreme sports. I read
Yeah.
a study that a lot of people that deal with like either bipolar or any type of mental illness, they seek out endurance sports or extreme sports.
Yeah.
So, um, and that's just by chance. That's probably why I found mountain biking. Um, I I bought a mountain bike as soon as I retired. Like, what am I gonna do? Um, because obviously what I've been doing is not working. I remember mountain
Yeah.
biking to be um one of the save points, if you were, or if you will, or a restore point where I was kind of like last happy ish, you know. I was like,
Hmm.
I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna buy a bike, and that's my retirement present to myself. And fast forward,
Nice.
here
Yeah.
I am, man. And I eat a lot of shit. I learned a lot of stuff, but if anything, one thing it taught me was one that I could be good at something again. So that gave me motivation to continue to learn, continue to grow, continue to get better. And then two, it brought me back to nature, um, and that connection with something bigger, and connection with God. And I'm still pulling back the layers of that. Um,
Yeah.
but it's done a lot for me. But at the same time, I continue to seek other things. Like Sandy and I just started jujitsu. And we've been doing it
Nice.
for, she's been doing it for like 4 weeks. I've been doing it for like 2 weeks. Jiu-jitsu and MMA. So that's pretty cool. I enjoy
I was
that.
just say, yeah. How's that going? Yeah. You guys enjoying
It's
that?
Yeah, man, it's badass. We find a good gym. So um I'm gonna damn it. Uh he works at UHP. He told us about veteran Bushido Brotherhood. Boxing coach
Ben.
Ben, yes,
Yep.
Ben.
Yep.
He put us in contact with that nonprofit. We sought them out and we got started with them. And we just got some shin guards in the mail yesterday. But we got connected through one of Sandy's classmates, who is he's actually was a Green Beret, and he used to do jujitsu with these guys. So he connected us with this gym. He was like, they're good people. They're gonna take care of you. Because one of my fears was like unnecessarily getting hurt just by people that are just trying to
Yeah.
prove something or just trying to dominate folks or what have you.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, I guess to say all that to say, yeah, man, we're enjoying it. It's a good time, and we're gonna see where it goes, man.
I'm gonna
Um,
make sure I pass that off to Ben. That's gonna fire him up. He's gonna be pumped when he hears that.
yeah, dude. I mean, I let him know that we started it, but I haven't followed back up with him to
Nice.
give him an update. But yeah, man. And I really enjoyed that at UHP doing the boxing thing. I mean, even though it was like
Oh yeah.
an hour or so. But yeah, man, I was
Yeah.
like, damn, yeah, this is fun. But
Yeah.
yeah,
Ben knows boxing. He also knows how to bring people to the table and have a good time with it. And just, I mean, yeah. I have never seen a person get done with one of his classes and not just be just complete euphoric or, just top of the world feeling,
yeah, I think because it kind of brings out that primal movement, that primal
Yeah.
instincts, you know. It's just like even
Yeah.
though it's subtle, it kind of just opens the door a little bit. I mean, for
Yep.
those of us who
Yeah.
just like, hey, what else am I capable of? Let's do more.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yep.
so yeah. What if y- what were some of the like greatest nuggets that you've learned while serving your 20 years?
Yeah. Yeah. So, uh, like I said, the first one was that quote I was telling you about, like I, I feel like I worked well with everybody that I worked with throughout my time. Both being able to get along with them, understand them, and move forward because I did understand that life is not built perfect. So everything that we endeavor, especially in the military, is complex generally. Um, and so if everything was already made perfect, there'd be no reason to do it in the first place. There'd be no reason for any of us to be here. So that was one of the first things I told everybody. Um, Definitely say yes. Take the opportunity. Go make yourself better because by making yourself better, you're going to make the team better. You're going to make the team better, and you're going to make the collective better. Um, and there's nothing more stronger than the might of the U.S. military and any other part of humanity when it comes to not only the weapons and technology we have, but the people who use them. That's the key right there. It's the people that are willing to get out there, use all this stuff, get a little uncomfortable, put in the hours of reading, research, testing, design, all while being, you know, critiqued, scrutinized, made constant, after action reviews to make yourselves better. And nothing hurts worse than when you're told you didn't do something as well as you could have. But if you take it for what it's worth, you will get better. And then finally, everything that we learn, you give it away. You learn something. There's no reason to ever hold on to it. Find the people who need it, and pass it on to them. I am a I'm a firm advocate. What I kind of wrapped up at my going away speech that I gave to a couple folks. I did a low one. I didn't want to do much of a retirement, so um, but the one thing I did share was, if we believe we're lifelong learners, then it means that someday in my life, because I do believe I'm a lifelong learner, I'm going to be here for the last day on this earth, and I'm still going to learn something from somebody. Could be a toddler, could be somebody older than me. Um, but there's no reason to hold on to any of that. I learn it, and I understand it, and apply it for how it applies to me. But then I give it away. I make sure that I take that and I find somebody else who needs it, and I pass it on.
Yeah, I think those are some good nuggets. And I feel like I'm the same way. Like I try to learn from many different people and just I try to listen. I've been working more on listening than I am like on talking. Um, and it's like this conversation, right? Like this conversation is a dance, right? Like this is the first time where
Hmm.
we talked this long. And when we started
Yeah,
off, it was kind of like a little choppy, right? It's kind of like where our brains are waking up from everything else.
yeah.
But at the same time, like the longer we kind of get into it and we kind of like settle into the conversation or to the the rhythm of it, right? So we're not stepping on one another. But it's also like trying to pick out the um the similarities in it. It's not to say that I'm comparing, but it's this I feel like there's a in growth there is um there's this like pattern that 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 we can connect on, and with that pattern there is, if you zoom out far enough and can be able to see it, like you can see like the trajectory of where someone's going, right? And
Hmm.
I feel like I'm a lifelong learner too. I listen to a bunch of different people: Alan Watts, Carl Jung, Jordan Peterson. I listened to him for a while, and I know you're
Yeah,
taking. Are you still going to the Peterson Academy?
I am. I am. Yep. Very, very enjoyable. Insanely great collection of scholars that impart some great information to digest, and then kind of uh kind of add to the intellectual toolbox, I suppose.
What is the? I mean, I know you had offered for me to log into it to check it out when I was there, but what is what are the testing? What's the testing like for those classes?
So there's no actual testing. Um, I mean, you can take the quizzes and the tests if you want to, but I mean, really, the actual academy itself is a collection of scholarly work from people who are all experts in their field that want to come and bring that information to others, and then really get into the academic or intellectual pieces of any array of things. He's got a little bit of everything on there.
Yeah.
But I mainly what I enjoy it for is, I after I finished 6 years of school, I went back to school for 6 years straight, and afterwards I really enjoyed it. I enjoyed learning, and at that point I had built routine in, and when I was done, I was like, man, I got a giant void of time again now. I need to find something to fill it. And so I started doing podcasts, like many people do, and some audiobooks and regular books and things like that. And then I was finally like, you know what, I want to get some structure again. And so I had found that, and I was like, I'll give that a roll.
What podcast do you listen to?
Oh goodness, I toggled all over the place. I just whatever was a particular interest when I was driving in the morning.
Yeah, I listen to like Lex Friedman. You ever listen to him?
No,
Yeah, he has some pretty fascinating conversations with just about everyone. And he kind of gets into I believe he's a software engineer. I think he used to went to school at uh and I was in Boston too. MIT. I think he was a
yeah,
professor there or something. And
nice.
he's had Jordan Peterson on before. But he talked to like politicians, Netanyahu. He had Zelensky on.
Oh,
He went to
nice.
Ukraine to talk to Zelensky. He's had uh the Prime Minister from India, Modi.
Yep,
Um
Modi. Yep.
yeah, but I think uh he does a good job of picking out the he has some great questions, one, but like the intellectual thought that goes behind it, and plus he's a lot smarter than me. But that one's a really good one to listen to. And
Yeah.
um, I never like just doing a podcast, right? Like that on its own is something I never thought I would be doing. Kind of going back to like the military thing. I feel like I'm an introvert, like naturally, but when I kind of made this decision to try to, um, I don't know, like it's a double-edged sword, right? Because on one end, it's like, who am I to try to help others, right? And then on the other end, it's just like, I feel like I need to at least kind of reach that one individual that is kind of going through whatever, um, because I wish I had that, I guess, and maybe I wouldn't have listened. But it's interesting how um, we, not like you and I, but just in general, have this innate of like pull to try to um, be that voice or that light, if you will, for someone else. And I don't know what that is, but I do feel like it's a calling we all come to in the way of and I don't think it's egoic by any means. I mean, I think there's some level to that, but like for you, uh, where I know you kind of talked about it earlier, but was there like an instance, like something that clicked, like I'm doing this, like this is. I know you kind of talked about the experiences that led to that, but what was that moment that when the light turned on, like this is the path I'm gonna choose.
In terms of when I joined service
No, in terms of
or
like the path you're on now, I know you had talked about it.
oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, no. Well, I do remember I got to the point where um I was in a room or I was in a different room in the house one night, and I was laying there, couldn't sleep. At least for me, my main consequence was insomnia. Um, and so I remember laying there staring at the ceiling, and I'd had some people, talk with me, some close friends, and everything was coming to a close for me, at least in terms of marriage, and obviously if I kept going, probably eventually would have probably made my career suffer and other things. It was just I was on that slope, and I do remember having the thought that you could, yeah, I mean, it's not right or wrong, um, necessarily, depending on how it means to you, but you can go live that life if you want to. You can go curl up somewhere and drink yourself, into oblivion and then die peacefully. There's nothing that says that you can't do that. Um, uh, or you can have the other way, and you can, and put in the work, you can put in the time, and you can put the effort into the things that matter to you the most. But in order to figure out what matters to you the most, you actually have to make that decision of what matters to you the most. And so, for me, I do remember that night in particular. I chose the things that did matter to me the most, and you can't have both. It's a fork at that point. And so, um, yeah, I mean that was my point, I guess. Um, because I haven't come back from it since. I've been on the path that I am now, and I'm probably the happiest I've ever been in my life. So even with all the things, and I by no means have everything going great right now. I got plenty of problems, just like everybody else. Um, but uh, but no, I generally I wake up every day, and I have hope, and I go to sleep every night, and I give thanks, and I am thankful. Um, because for every one thing that I have going wrong, I probably have about 50 things going right. So I mean, I generally, yeah, I made the right choice for me. And yeah, I'm super happy today.
And yeah, and you went through the UHP class. When was that? Like seven? Like when did you go through UHP
So I went through CPT
or
out
CPT?
out here, yeah, out here at UHP in 2022 when I was still on active duty, and was one of the best decisions I made. It was old CW5 friend of mine, Tom, who he went through and told me, hey, you like fitness, you should go try this out. And little did I know, it was much more than just fitness. When you start talking about what veterans get out of coming down somewhere for 3 weeks with the full environment of empowerment and the ability to like I was talking on earlier, be able to take a vision and a bunch of knowledge and a bunch of little uh, puzzle pieces of a whole concept idea and get the time to put that together. And so that really catalyzed that was the catalyst for me. That was the starting point of getting into the fitness industry. I went back, became a CrossFit coach. Because I became a CrossFit coach, I got really into my community. When I got really into my community, I actually started becoming a real human being again, coming out of um, I came out of the special operations community after 16 years, where about 90% of your life is dedicated to that. So, actually at home a little bit more, and I'm enjoying time. And I realized I actually can have time and enjoy it and stuff like that, which is pretty cool. And then I came back down to integrative health because uh, I was already on track to, I did believe the power of the mind was, everything we do starts with the power of the mind. And got the opportunity to come back down through integrative health. Learned, regardless of your problems, you can achieve everything you want to if you focus on where you're at now and where you want to go. Um, and then the opportunity came up to come back to be a graduate assistant. And I said yes to that opportunity immediately because that is what I wanted to do when I got out of the military. I wanted to work with our brothers and sisters. I wanted to be inspirational. Um, my why statement coming out of service was a page long at the beginning, and I got it down to one sentence. I want to inspire others so we find balance. And I use those words very particularly, especially we find balance, because the more and more I can inspire others by spending time and space with them, and being able to inspire them to move and go after their goals, they're inspiring me as well. So we all find our balance together because we constantly hold each other up, we uplift each other, and we all move forward together. And that's the real power behind this place is we stick together, and regardless of where we are in the United States, and we always know that we're not alone, and we always know that we have the full support and backing of our brothers and sisters, and they're always there to help, whether it's just to listen, whether it's to help out with ideas, whether it's to actually work together. It's like I said, in my mind, the most powerful place you can come if you really, really want to get moving.
Yeah. Yeah, and like I said before, like that UHP was definitely I gained a lot more than I ever expected because I thought it was just a CPT course, you know. And but to address it from so many different levels for the individual, it was pretty awesome. Um, and yeah, I'm glad I went. I'm glad I got to experience it and I got to understand and got to meet the staff and the crew. And really what you guys are doing there. And I've been talking to other folks about going there, but and how did you just like so when you went back in 2022, you just like I'm coming back here as a coach, or it just kind of came to you later?
No, no, when I came in 2022, I came down and um absolutely loved it. And like I said, when I went back home, this place inspired me to move. And so when I got back home, I found a CrossFit space. I just started and I really enjoyed it, and I wanted to coach. And so I asked the coach there, I just went to this course, told her about it, and then I asked her, hey, would you mentor me and turn me into a good CrossFit coach? And she did. And then, like I said, when I got the opportunity to come back, I did. Uh, Absolutely loved it. And then shortly after I came back for the integrative health course, I talked with Hunter down here and got the opportunity to come and serve and get to be a part of this freaking amazing place. Like, I mean, uh, and so much so that like I do want to turn my life's work and passion into this type of work. I mean, this is a well worth life to me.
Yeah. It seems like it, like when I was there and kind of talking to you, not kind of talking, but talking to you, you can, every, everyone that was there, I don't think I saw anybody that didn't seem like they didn't want to be there. And then
Yeah.
you just told me you just rode a mountain bike recently there.
Yeah. I finally hopped on the bikes after you guys told me to. Those things are, I haven't come off of, like, I've ridden that thing, I don't know, 3, 4 times a week now, at least. I mean, I'm having a blast. Dirt therapy guys are doing an amazing job on the trails up here.
Yeah.
Hopped on a couple of those, and I'm not doing any black trails by any means, but I've been hitting the green trails and trying to figure out how tires turn on the dirt and stuff, and get the feel of it, and we'll get there.
Yeah. Yeah. It's definitely take your time with it. And I think we may be going back in May for Bike Fest, and then
Oh, it'd be awesome.
I think there's a IPC course or something in June that we learned about today with Coffee with Johnny. So
If you guys are coming back up, I'm gonna have to make sure I get my legs conditioned before you get here. I'm gonna try and keep up with you.
yeah, now we tailor the ride to whoever's with us. We're not gonna leave anybody behind, but
Nice.
yeah, yeah, I'm glad you're enjoying it. And it's definitely a good way to kind of mix up the like throw another I don't want to call it a workout because it's not really for me. It's not a workout. It's like too fun to be a workout. Like
I
yes, you do
I think
work,
I yeah.
but it's I don't know.
I
That's
I
but
I think what you're really doing is rooted in the name. It's therapy.
yeah.
I mean, I come off that thing. I'm never in a bad mood when I get off that bike. I mean, like no matter what type of day I'm having, go for a ride really quick, and I'm just like, man, that was nice.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. I think it taps into that. I don't know if you rode bikes as a kid, but it taps into
oh
that
yeah,
for me. And
yeah,
yeah, well, I think well, I don't think we're supposed to go to. Speaking of doing different things, like one of the things I want to do is surfing. I've never been
yeah.
surfing. And then we're supposed to do a 50-mile paddle in St. Augustine in the next month or
Down with
so.
uh, down with Ricky and those guys.
Yeah, so
Yeah,
we're
that's gonna
trying
be
to.
awesome.
Yeah, dude, I've never done something like that, but I'm excited at the very least to see Ricky and see what he's doing down there. And then we got a 54-mile yomp in Scotland in June. So I did it last
Nice.
year. Yeah, it's supposed in 24 hours. We're supposed to complete it. I did it last year in 25:15. But that was amazing. But yeah, we'll be going back this year. Sandy's going back with me this year. She got asked to go, and I got asked to be a mentor. So I'm looking forward to that.
That sounds like it's gonna be an awesome trip.
Yeah, man, it is, and I don't know how I ended up here. And sometimes I kind of am like, I thought, like, what did I do to get here? You know what I mean? But it's it's you highlighted it earlier when you're in the space, genuinely, like helping others. Like you, what is it? What how's that saying go? Something something raises all ships. Something tide
A rising tide
raises all ships.
raises all ships.
Yeah.
Yep.
I need to work on my recall. It's not
Yeah,
always there. But I know we kind of didn't really get into your military career so much. But
that's okay. It was about the same as everybody else's in the last 20 years. We all did a bunch of stuff, traveled a bunch, and we had some good times and some bad times with each other. But, don't regret a
yeah,
minute of it. So
yeah, definitely. Yeah, man, I'm glad to have you on. I got to understand you a little bit more, and like your thought process and like to kind of even see even more like your passion in what you're doing. And I look forward to seeing you again, one, and then two, to uh, see where you're at in a couple more years and what you're doing and what your mission is. And um, yeah, I appreciate your time and like, you coming on. And
oh
as
yeah,
us,
dude. I can't.
go ahead.
Yeah. Oh, I was just gonna say, no, I can't thank you enough as well. This was great, man. Like since we were saying we're gonna have these conversations and hopefully we keep these things going too. I always like having a good philosophical chat with you or just talking about anything really in general. But
Yeah, man. Um,
yeah.
do you have anything before we sign off or anything?
No, man. No, like I said, no, this was great, dude, and it's good to see you.
Yeah, man. And then, like I said, I think I'm gonna start doing this new. Like, you can have the choice for me to delete this or keep it. I mean, it's up to you. I'll leave that
I
in
mean,
your hands.
I feel like I feel good about it.
All right. Well, if you change your
Yep.
mind, let me know, man.
All right, dude.
All right. Well, I
All right,
hey,
Simon.
yeah, man. Well, everyone, thanks for listening to this podcast. And if you feel like it has helped you or helped anyone else or will help anyone else, please share this with them. It's streaming on all platforms: Spotify, Pandora, Apple, etc. And it's also on YouTube. Please give this a share and like. Thank you for your time. And like as I say, in your presence. All right, man.
Good to see you, Simon.
Likewise, man. Have a good night, dude.
You too, bro. I'll talk
All
to you
right.
soon.
Talk to you
All
later.
right.
All right, bye.
All right. Bye.